Hello everyone, and welcome back to Whisky Wednesday. Something I've been meaning to do for a while is do more on Irish whiskey, because I really like it, most of you really enjoy it, and I mean I say that as this camera is precariously balanced on a Redbreast 12 and a Redbreast 15, so hopefully it won't, this camera won't fall down. But some newer Irish distilleries, we have done Waterford in the past, to mixed reviews. In all honesty, I thought those reviews would... dinner is repeating on me. I thought those reviews would garner quite a lot of attention. And they did and they didn't. I remember working like an absolute fiend to try and get hold of the bottles early, or as quick as I could so that I could review them. And we reviewed the first two releases and they were met with pretty lukewarm responses. I've tried a few more since, and my mind hasn't changed too much, really. But in the grander scheme of things, there are so many new Irish distilleries, and I've got one of them here. Dingle. Now, only started in 2012, it's their 10th year this year. They released their first single malt, like official single malt release. I think it was October last year. And I thought that's kind of cool. I do have that bottle, but it's at work because I've let some people try it. But also was this. This is batch number 6 of their small batch releases. As with most Irish whiskey, it's triple distilled. This is non-chill filtered. It doesn't say anything about colouring. 46.5%, that is correct, isn't it? Yeah, 4.5. And matured exclusively in tawny port casks. Doesn't give us a particular distillation date or anything like that, not that I've seen on the packaging anyway. So one would assume that it is some of their older stock, but that is purely an assumption. This is the bottle itself. Beautiful, kind of very specific looking bottle. It's quite stout. On the back of it, I've not had any of the prior releases through 1 to 5, but this one caught my attention. On the back is this beautiful piece of artwork called The Sleeping Giant by an artist called Liam O'Neill. That is amazing. Like, I love that kind of artwork. It's very pretty. This is the label, just in case you want to see it a little bit closer. Everything's got this kind of really cool little straw man on it. But yeah, fully matured in tawny port. Look at that. Beautiful colour. Like the definition of like amber or like golden syrup. The gentleman who distills Dingle these days is Graham Cool, formerly of Glenmoray. Probably got some Glenmoray fans watching. There are certainly a lot of Glenmoray fans in the whiskey YouTube part of the world. But yeah, it's an exciting newer distillery just past its tenure. So something we should pay attention to. Graham Cool has got a lot of experience with all things whiskey. And now we're dealing with products which are, not want to slam Glenmoray, but these Dingle products, even at unknown ages, seem to be presented in a much more natural state than what Glenmoray was. So hopefully he's got a bit more freedom now, which is fun. But we have it here in the glass. There we go. And again, just a stunning colour on this thing. It looks like Macallan 25. But port, and probably not 25 years old. Let's smell, let's taste, let's see what's going on with Dingle single barrels. And then at some point we will review the standard single malt too. Important numbers. So there was 15,000 bottles of this produced. This is bottle 13,180. So that's fun. And I think, the smell of that is just incredible. I'm pretty sure got this little card here that came with it. With an additional, so they did 1,000 bottles at cask strength. That's pretty cool. This was actually in the tin. I nearly threw this away because I'm not one to keep tins, but then I found it in the... you can buy them on these websites, blah, blah, blah. There are some nosing and smelling notes on there that we won't look at. So the 13,000 bottles, and then 1,000 bottles of a cask strength. So that's quite fun. Let me get rid of that. Don't need that. Let's smell, let's taste, let's see what Dingle has to offer. It's a subtle thing. Just want to see if I can like see the legs on this thing. Look at that. Trying to get my head out of focus. There we go. It's beautifully coating whiskey. A lot of things on the nose. The first thing I get is like quite bitter dark chocolate, which also leads me into like not quite Turkish delight, but rose water. Quite a specific smell that. I was drinking some rosé lemonade the other day, and this isn't a million miles away from that, but just a lot boozier. I was in Cornwall last year to meet my partner's parents, and my partner's mother, she makes homemade like jams and marmalades and things. They've got an amazing garden where they grow everything. And the nose on this is just like bitter orange marmalade, like, but you know, it's still got like chunks and stuff and like bitter orange skin. I think overall you could describe the nose as quite bittersweet. There's an element of Campari, Campari, Aperol. Essentially massive with orange influence, very orangey style of whiskey, but with these little flicks of, you know, bitter pith and dark chocolate, and the rose water is the really weird one. But there is a very gentle sort of Turkish delight thing in there. There's also like wintry, spicy things. I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, I like raisins, but I'm not a huge fan of like raisins and cranberries and stuff like that. But it's in there. Bittersweet, very floral, beautiful nose. But certainly leaning towards those more, again, just sort of bitter, kind of more adult flavours. You know, when we're kids, we all like chocolate, or we all like, you know, really juicy fruits like apples and pineapple. I used to despise Campari, but I'm slowly coming round to it. I think just because I'm developing more of an appreciation for things that taste a little bit bitter. I used to hate dark chocolate. It's the only chocolate I buy now. But quite a complex nose on that. A lot of stuff going on. Which is odd because, as I famously said, I'm not a big fan of port cask whiskey. So I don't know if I've still got it. I don't think I do. Reviewed a Clonakilty port cask last year. Yeah, last year. And I was like, oh, that's actually quite good. Another Irish whiskey with I think that was ruby port casks rather than tawny. Obviously we have this rather famous Glen Scotia, the 2008 Campbelltown Festival one. That is all ruby port. That's a ruby port finish though. I don't think I own anything else in. Oh, Angel's Envy, port cask bourbon. I think that's it. And Talisker Port Ree. I really like that. That's like that's probably my favourite standard Talisker that is affordable. So me and port don't really get on. I recently tried Redbreast 27 in London. Just went for a train, went to Milroy's, tried it. I'm still unsure if I even like that. I love Redbreast, like to death. And it's so different from the regular Redbreast. It's so much drier. I can't remember the ABV. I think it's like 53. It might even be like 57. It was so much drier and it tasted so hot. It tasted like hot toffee. Like eating toffee out of a, like not really hot, but like lukewarm toffee out of a pan. It was kind of like, oh, it's just got this intrinsic heat running through it. And I left the bar quite undecided on if I loved it or if I really didn't like it. It certainly stood out. I think I'd rather buy Redbreast 15 in terms of the money, but yeah, a bit undecided on that. If it was bourbon, I think it's a port finish, a ruby port finish. But if it was all bourbon or maybe all sherry or something, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more. But yeah, I'm like this with port. Never really know what to do with it. Anyway, taste. Ooh. So when this arrived, wow. I interrupted myself there. Sorry. I was just really enjoying the finish on that. That's quite tasty. So when this thing arrived, it leaked on delivery. So it's got a bit crispy. The cork leaked too, but I think it's fine now. But on the top of it, you'll see this kind of welt up where I think it's gone through. And I thought that would impact this quite a lot. Luckily it hasn't. It's been sat just upright, not doing much. I think I will just put it in a decanter when my decanter is empty, which it isn't. But I thought it would affect the flavour a little bit, because I've never really had a bottle leak on me on delivery. Certainly not one where it was seeping through the cork. I might just be rambling a bit there, but I thought it would. Anyway, talk about that bittersweet marmalade thing. The arrival of this thing is so rich. Imagine like the juice, well, juicy is probably not the right word, just like the most sort of fulfilling bite of like marmalade on like really buttery, warm toast. It actually gets a little bit sweeter if you hold it in the mouth, and it's almost like a creme caramel butterscotch, like caramelized white chocolate thing. It gets quite rich, like it really does amp itself up. And I mentioned cranberry and raisin, there's a little bit of that kind of sneaking in around the side. The finish. So the orange comes back around. I'm sorry, my nose is really itchy. I keep like doing that. The orange swings all the way back around, and this is so specific. I've been making more cocktails at home, old fashions particularly because all of that. And the end of an old fashioned, when it's just kind of that like watered down cocktail, and the orange rind is kind of sitting in it and soaking everything up. It reminds me of that. And again, back to the Campari Aperol thing, there's like a nice warming, slightly bitter, slightly sweet vermouth note. Almost like an Antica Formula vermouth. A little bit of vanilla that's in the back just to make it a bit sweeter than a standard vermouth. That's delicious. That's really, really, really good. I just want to make sure that it doesn't actually have like a vintage on it or something, and I'm just missing it because I'm an idiot. But I don't think it does. It just says distilled, well, distilling since 2012, Dingle, County Kerry. I can't see an age on it anywhere. Regardless of that, that is an impressive whiskey. Bittersweet, complex, slightly more adult nose. It's not these kind of typical, oh, it smells like raspberry or like milk chocolate and vanilla. There's none of that. There's a lot more going on with something which is sub 10 years old. I can still taste it now. And I've drank a fair few whiskies today through some sampling I've done at work. And that tastes so good. Price on it, I think it was 60 quid, right? 70 euros. I think it was like £62, something like that. I wasn't including shipping either, but that's incredible. That's quite good whiskey. Like, not quite good. That's very, very good whiskey. One more sip. I'll score it, and then we'll sign off. Leave you all to your evening, whatever you're doing. And the bitter thing becomes so much more intense, and that's like the third or fourth sip. If you like vermouth, and Italian vermouth in particular, pick up one of these. That gets a 9 from me. I think that's incredible stuff. So what we need to do now is I need to review the regular one, which is obviously quite different. Same ABV, not all port cask though. Solid 9. I just want to show the artwork again, because that's just lovely. It's really nice. Yeah, Liam O'Neill, you've gained a fan. But that was Dingle, batch number 6. I hope you've all had a wonderful day or evening, whatever it is you're doing, and I will see you all next week. Cheers.